Welcome back to Afro Drama Stories. If you watched part 1, you know how Jean protected Elena after that nurse attacked her. But what happens next? Trust me, you're not ready for this. Before we dive in, drop a comment and tell us where you're watching from. We love connecting with our global family. The bullet shattered the nursery window at 3:47 a.m. Jean was already moving before the glass finished falling, his body reacting to danger the way it always had, with the cold precision of a man who'd survived 2 decades in a world where hesitation meant death. He rolled out of bed, grabbed the gun from the hidden compartment in his nightstand, and was halfway to Nari's room before Elena's scream fully registered. The nursery was chaos. Glass littered the floor, catching moonlight like scattered diamonds. The window was a jagged mouth of darkness. But Nari's bassinet was intact, and when Jean reached her, his daughter was crying, terrified but unharmed. "Jean!" Elena appeared in the doorway, her eyes wild. "What happened?" "Get down," Jean commanded, his voice sharp enough to cut through her panic. "Now, Elena, get on the floor." She dropped immediately, years of trusting his instincts overriding her fear. Jean scooped Nari from the bassinet with one arm while keeping his gun trained on the window with the other. His mind raced through possibilities. Professional hit, warning shot, random violence. The angle was wrong for a kill shot. This was deliberate. A message. His phone rang. Unknown number. Jean answered, already knowing what he'd hear. "Good reflexes," a voice said. "Male. Calm. Speaking Korean with a Busan accent. The next one won't miss." "Who is this?" "Someone you ruined. Someone you forgot about." "But I haven't forgotten you, Jean Sukhan. I haven't forgotten what you took from me." The line went dead. Jean stood in the destroyed nursery, holding his crying daughter, watching Elena crawl toward them across glass-covered carpet, and felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Not fear. Fear was useless, but calculation mixed with rage, the specific cocktail of emotions that turned him from Jean the husband and father into Jean the predator. "We're leaving," he said quietly. "Right now. Don't pack anything. Just get your shoes and coat." "Jean, what's happening?" "Someone just declared war on our family," he said, meeting her eyes. "And they made a mistake. They should have killed me when they had the chance." Before we continue, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This story is about to get wild, and you don't want to miss what happens next. Trust me on this one. 20 minutes later, they were in an armored SUV heading toward Jin's secure facility on the outskirts of Hanul City. Park Dongmin drove while 2 other guards flanked them in a second vehicle. Jin sat in the back with Elena and Nari, his mind already working through the problem. "Tell me everything," Elena said once Nari had calmed enough to nurse. "No more protecting me. I need to know what we're facing." Jean looked at his wife, at the determination in her eyes that reminded him why he'd fallen in love with her in the first place. She wasn't asking to be coddled. She was demanding to be treated as a partner. "The voice on the phone," Jean began. "I didn't recognize it, but the accent and phrasing suggest someone from my past in Busan. Someone I dealt with before I came to Hanul City." "Dealt with how?" "Destroyed," Jean said bluntly. "When I was building my operation, I had to eliminate competitors. Some I negotiated with, some I bought out. Others required more direct methods." Elena's jaw tightened, but she didn't look away. "And you think this is revenge?" "I know it is. The bullet through Nari's window wasn't meant to kill her. It was meant to show me they could reach my family. That no amount of money or power can protect you from someone patient enough to wait for the perfect moment." "How many people like this are out there?" Elena asked. "How many enemies have you made?" "Enough," Jean admitted. "But most of them are either dead, in prison, or too smart to come after me now that I have legitimate business interests and political connections. Whoever this is, they're either desperate or crazy. Possibly both." Dongmin's voice came through the intercom. Sir, we have a problem. Jean leaned forward. What problem? The safe house. Someone got there first. It's burning. Through the windshield, Jean could see the orange glow on the horizon. His secure facility, the place he'd spent millions building and fortifying, was engulfed in flames. Fire trucks surrounded it, but Jean could tell from the intensity of the blaze that there'd be nothing left. They knew, Elena breathed. How did they know where we'd go? Jin's mind raced through possibilities, landing on the one he didn't want to acknowledge. We have a leak. Someone inside my organization told them about the safe house. Who? I don't know yet, but I will. Jean pulled out his phone and made 3 calls. The first to his head of security to lock down all other properties. The second to his technology specialist to begin tracing the earlier call. The third to someone he'd hoped never to contact again. This is unexpected, said the voice that answered, female, speaking Korean with perfect Seoul pronunciation. I need a favor, Director Choi. A pause. You know favors come with prices. Jean SSI. Name it. Information. Full disclosure on your current operations in the shipping district. Jean glanced at Elena, at Nari sleeping against her mother's chest. Done. I need a secure location. Government-level security. And I need it now. Someone rattled your cage? Someone shot at my daughter. Another pause, longer this time. Director Choi might work for the National Intelligence Service, might be someone Jean had complicated history with, but she understood the sanctity of family. Send me your location. I'll have a team extract you within the hour. But Jean SSI? This makes us even. After this, we're done. Understood. The extraction was military precise. Black vehicles with tinted windows. Armed personnel in tactical gear. They transferred Elena and Nari to an armored van while Jean followed in a separate vehicle. Standard protection protocol, separating targets to minimize risk. Elena didn't fight it, which told Jean she understood how serious this was. If you're enjoying this intense continuation, show us some love. Hit that like button and drop a comment telling us what you think is going to happen next. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Click that button now. The safe house was an anonymous building in a commercial district. The kind of place that looked like any other office complex but had reinforced walls, advanced surveillance, and enough firepower hidden in its walls to start a small war. Director Choi met them in the underground garage. Mrs. Jean, she said, offering her hand to Elena. I'm sorry we're meeting under these circumstances. You know my husband, Elena said, not quite making it a question. I know what he used to be, Choi replied. What he's trying not to be anymore. That's worth something. They were escorted to a 6th-floor apartment, spartanly furnished but secure. Choi's team swept it twice before allowing them inside. Once they were alone, Choi turned to Jean. Talk to me. Who wants you dead badly enough to go after your child? That's what I need to find out, Jean said. The voice was disguised, but the accent was Busan. The timing suggests someone who's been watching me for months, maybe years. Someone patient. Patient means professional, Choi observed. Not some hothead looking for revenge. This is calculated. Which makes them more dangerous, Jean agreed. Elena sat on the couch, rocking Nari gently. Can I say something? Both Jean and Choi turned to her. You're both thinking about this like soldiers, Elena continued. Looking for military threats, professional killers, organized enemies. But what about Mireille? Jean frowned. The nurse? She's in custody. Is she? Have you confirmed that today? Jean pulled out his phone and dialed Detective Park. The conversation lasted less than a minute, and when Jean hung up, his expression was stone. She made bail 3 days ago, he said quietly. Park tried to call me to warn me, but I've been dealing with the hospital reform proposals and missed it. Her husband, Elena said. Seo Junho. What if he's the one behind this? What if they're working together? Choi was already typing on her tablet. Seo Junho, former shipping logistics manager, terminated for embezzlement. No criminal record besides that. No known association with violent organizations. She looked up. But his brother does. Seo Junwoo, former military, dishonorable discharge for assault. Last known employment was as an enforcer for the Busan Hyangji. The Busan Hyangji. Jin's blood went cold. He destroyed that organization 15 years ago when he was consolidating power in the southern territories. He'd thought he'd eliminated all the major players, but clearly someone had survived. I need everything you have on Seo Junwoo, Jin said. Everything. Employment history, known associates, family connections, everything. Already compiling it, Choi said. But Jin SSI, if this is Hyangji business, this isn't just about revenge for a job loss. This is about blood debt. Old school underworld rules. They won't stop until you're dead or they are. Then we end this, Jin said simply. Tonight. Jin, no. Elena stood up, careful not to wake Nari. You can't just go out there and start a war. We have a daughter now. You promised you'd be different. I am different, Jin said, turning to face her. The old me would have already killed everyone associated with this without asking questions. I'm trying to do this right. Legal. Through proper channels. But Elena, they shot at our baby. They burned down my safe house. They have someone inside my organization feeding them information. This isn't something I can solve by filing police reports. So what, you're just going to kill them all? Become the monster you're trying not to be. The words hit harder than any bullet. Jin looked at his wife, saw the fear and disappointment in her eyes, and felt something crack inside him. I don't know, he admitted. I don't know how to protect you without becoming that monster. I don't know how to be a good father while dealing with people who only understand violence. I'm trying, Elena. I'm trying so hard to be the man you deserve. But I don't know if I can be that man and keep you safe at the same time. The silence that followed was broken by Choi clearing her throat. If I may offer a third option? They both looked at her. Let me handle this officially, Choi said. NIS has been looking for an excuse to take down what's left of the Hyangji network. If we can connect them to this attack, I can mobilize resources. Legal resources. We arrest them, build a case, let the courts handle it. And how long does that take? Jin asked. How many days or weeks of my family living in hiding while you gather evidence? However long it takes to do it right, Choi replied. Unless you'd prefer to do it wrong and risk everything you've built. Your legitimate businesses, your political connections, your daughter's future. Is revenge worth all that? This is getting intense, right? Before we go further, drop a comment and let us know, Team Legal Justice or Team Street Justice. And make sure you're subscribed because this story is about to take another wild turn. The answer came from an unexpected source. Jin's phone rang, and the number that appeared made his stomach drop. His mother. They hadn't spoken in 3 years, not since she'd made clear her disapproval of his marriage to Elena. Ama, Jin answered in Korean, his voice carefully neutral. Your wife and child are in danger, his mother said without preamble. I know who's behind it. How do you know? Because Seo Junwoo came to me first. He wanted my blessing to kill you. He wanted me to know he was avenging my honor by removing the shame you brought to our family. Jin closed his eyes, feeling the weight of old wounds reopening. And what did you tell him? I told him to go to hell, his mother replied, her voice sharp as broken glass. I may not approve of your choices, Jin Sukhan. I may not understand why you married a foreign woman, why you're trying to leave the business that made our family powerful. But you're still my son, and that child is still my grandchild. No one threatens my blood. Ama, listen to me. Junwoo isn't working alone. His brother's wife, that nurse, she convinced him that destroying you was the only way to restore their family honor. They've recruited others. Men you destroyed in Busan. Men who have nothing left to lose. They're planning something big. Something that will happen tomorrow at the hospital where your wife gave birth. Jin's mind raced. What's happening at the hospital? There's a press conference about the reforms you demanded. The administrator is announcing major changes to patient protection policies. Your wife was supposed to be there, wasn't she? To speak about what happened to her. Elena had been invited, yes. They declined because they wanted to keep Nari away from public exposure. But the hospital staff didn't know that yet. They're going to attack the hospital, Jin said, the pieces falling into place. Create a hostage situation. Force me to come. Kill me in front of cameras to send a message to anyone else who might try to reform the system. Worse, his mother said. They're going to make it look like you planned it. Like you're staging a terrorist attack to eliminate witnesses who might testify against you in the nurse's trial. They have documents, forged communications, everything they need to frame you. Why are you telling me this? His mother was quiet for a long moment. Because I was wrong. About many things. About your wife. About the life you're trying to build. I spent 3 years nursing my pride instead of knowing my son. But hearing that man talk about killing a baby to hurt you, it reminded me of what's actually important. I need to stop them, Jean said. Yes, but you need to be smart about it. If you go in with guns, you'll prove their narrative. You'll destroy everything. But if you prevent the attack, save the hostages, expose their plan, you become the hero instead of the villain. After his mother hung up, Jean relayed everything to Choi and Elena. Choi immediately got on her phone, coordinating with her team. Elena stood frozen, processing the magnitude of what they were facing. Your mother helped us, she finally said. The woman who refused to meet Nari. Who told you she'd never accept me? People change, Jean said softly. Maybe watching us almost lose everything made her realize what matters. Or maybe becoming a grandmother made her remember what family really means, Elena suggested. Choi finished her call. I have tactical teams mobilizing to the hospital. But we have a problem. If we go in heavy, we might trigger the attack early. We need someone inside who can identify the attackers before they make their move. I'll go, Jean said immediately. They'll recognize you, Choi pointed out. Not if I'm hospital staff, Jean replied. Not if I'm just another security guard doing a routine sweep before the press conference. That's insane, Elena said. These people want you dead. You're walking into a trap. I'm walking into a trap with NIS backup and advanced knowledge of their plan, Jean corrected. That makes it an ambush, not a trap. Elena grabbed his arm. What if something goes wrong? What if they kill you and Nari grows up without a father? Jean cupped her face in his hands. Then she grows up knowing her father died protecting innocent people instead of becoming the monster who let them die. That's the legacy I want to leave her. Not fear, not power, but the knowledge that when it mattered, I chose to be better. That's beautiful and I hate it, Elena said, tears streaming down her face. I hate that you're right. I hate that this is the man I fell in love with. Someone brave enough to be stupid. Hey, I learned it from you, Jean said, wiping her tears. You walked into a hospital to have our baby even though you were scared. You survived Mireille's attack. You're the bravest person I know. Don't you dare die on me, Jean Sukhan, Elena whispered fiercely. Don't you dare make me raise our daughter alone. I won't, he promised. I have too much to live for now. This is the moment that changes everything. If you're on the edge of your seat, smash that like button and share this video with someone who loves intense drama. And subscribe if you haven't already. We're just getting to the good part. The hospital looked normal when Jean arrived 6 hours later, disguised in the blue uniform of a contracted security company. Choi's team had created perfect credentials, complete with a backstory that would hold up under scrutiny. As far as anyone knew, he was Kim Min-ho, a former military police officer now working private security. The press conference was scheduled for 2 p.m. It was now 9 a.m., which gave Jean 5 hours to identify the attackers and coordinate with Choi's tactical teams. He moved through the hospital with practiced ease, noting exits, security camera locations, and potential defensive positions. The VIP maternity wing on the 7th floor had been set up for the press conference. Chairs arranged in neat rows facing a podium. Camera crews testing equipment. Hospital administrators nervously reviewing their speeches. Jean counted 15 civilians who'd be in the room during the event, not including staff. "Excuse me," a voice said behind him. Jean turned to find Nurse Han Soo-yeon, the woman who'd cared for Elena after Mireille's attack. Her eyes widened slightly in recognition. "You're," she began. "A ghost," Jean interrupted quietly. "And if you want these people to survive today, you'll keep that information to yourself." Soo-yeon studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "There are 3 maintenance workers who arrived early this morning. I've never seen them before. They said they needed to check the HVAC system before the press conference." "Where are they now?" 7th floor mechanical room. "But there are also 2 new nurses on this floor. They started yesterday, supposedly transfers from another facility. But they don't know basic protocols. They asked where the medication storage was, which any nurse would already know. Show me where they are." Soo-yeon led him through the corridor to a supply room where 2 women in scrubs were supposedly restocking shelves. Jean watched them through the small window in the door. Their movements were wrong, too precise, too aware of their surroundings. These weren't nurses. They were operators. "The mechanical room is down this corridor," Soo-yeon whispered. "But be careful." One of them was carrying something heavy in a medical bag. "I saw it when she thought no one was looking." "Get out of this wing," Jean told her. "Find a reason to be anywhere else when the press conference starts." "What about the other staff? The real nurses and doctors who'll be here? Tell them there's a gas leak or something. Whatever gets them away safely. You have until 1 p.m. Soo-yeon nodded and hurried away. Jean contacted Choi through his concealed earpiece. "I've identified 5 hostiles so far. 3 in the mechanical room, 2 posing as nurses. I need eyes on the rest of the building." "We're tracking movement on all floors," Choi responded. "We've identified 3 more suspicious individuals. 2 in the main lobby, 1 in the parking garage. All arrived within the last hour. All carrying equipment bags that could contain weapons. 8 attackers that we know of," Jean said. "There could be more. The tactical team is in position in a building across the street. We have snipers with clear lines of sight to the 7th floor. But Jean SSI, we have another problem." "What problem?" "Seo Junwoo isn't here. We've been monitoring all entrances. He hasn't entered the building. Which means either he's not part of this or he's already inside," Jean finished. "He got here before we started watching. Maybe last night. Maybe days ago. That would require someone inside the hospital to hide him," Choi said. Jin's mind raced through possibilities. Who at Blue Crown Medical Center would have reason to help Junwoo? Who would want to see Jean destroyed badly enough to facilitate a terrorist attack? The answer hit him like ice water. The hospital administrator. The one who's giving the press conference. He's been too cooperative. Too eager to implement reforms. What if that's because he wants to lure me into a false sense of security? "I'll run a background check," Choi said. "But if you're right, we need to evacuate now." "No," Jean said. "If we evacuate, they'll know we're onto them. They'll scatter and try again later. We need to catch them all today. End this completely. That's a massive risk. It's the only way to protect my family long term. These people won't stop until they're dead or captured." so let's make sure it's captured. Jean made his way to the mechanical room, his hand resting on the concealed weapon at his hip. The door was unlocked. Inside, 3 men in maintenance uniforms were assembling something that definitely wasn't HVAC equipment. Automatic rifles, body armor, enough ammunition to hold off a small army. "Gentlemen," Jean said calmly, stepping into the room, "I'm going to need you to put your hands where I can see them." The 3 men spun around. For a moment, no one moved. Then the oldest one smiled, showing teeth stained yellow from smoking. "Jean Sukhan," he said in that same Busan accent from the phone call. "Junwoo said you'd come. Said you were too arrogant to stay away. Guess he was right." "Where is he?" Jean asked, his gun now drawn and pointed at the center man's chest. "Around. Watching. Waiting for the right moment." "And that moment is? When you watch everyone you tried to save die anyway," the man replied. "When you realize that all your money and power can't protect innocent people from men with nothing to lose." One of the other men reached for his rifle. Jean shot him in the shoulder before he could complete the motion, the sound of the gunshot impossibly loud in the small room. The man screamed and dropped, clutching his bleeding shoulder. "The next one dies," Jean said coldly, his gun now trained on the leader. "I'm done playing games. Tell me where Junwoo is or I start executing you one by one. You still with us? This is getting wild. Drop a comment with a fire emoji if you're loving this intensity. And if you're new to Afro Drama Stories, hit that subscribe button so you never miss these dramatic twists." Before the leader could answer, the door burst open behind Jean. He spun, gun raised, and found himself facing Director Choi with a tactical team behind her. "Clear," she called out, her team quickly securing the 3 men. "Jean SSI, we have a situation." "What situation?" "The administrator just announced a schedule change. The press conference is starting now. Right now. And there are 20 civilians in that room, including hospital staff who refused to evacuate." Jin's blood ran cold. Junwoo's making his move. They ran for the 7th floor conference room. Jean could hear applause as they approached, the sound of people clapping politely for whatever the administrator was saying. Choi's team fanned out, moving with military precision. Jean reached the door first, looked through the window, saw the administrator at the podium, speaking into a microphone, saw the audience of reporters and hospital staff, saw the 2 fake nurses standing at the back of the room, and saw Seo Junwoo standing behind the administrator with a gun pressed to the man's spine. "We need to get in there," Jean said. "Not yet," Choi replied, her voice tight. "If we breach now, he'll start shooting. We need to establish communication. Try to negotiate." "He doesn't want to negotiate," Jean said. "He wants me. So let's give him what he wants." Before Choi could stop him, Jean opened the door and walked into the room. The effect was immediate. Everyone turned. The administrator's eyes went wide with terror. The 2 fake nurses reached for weapons concealed under their scrubs. And Junwoo smiled, an expression of pure triumph spreading across his face. "Jean Sukhan," Junwoo said loudly, his voice carrying across the suddenly silent room. "Thank you for joining us. We've been waiting for you." "Let these people go," Jean said calmly, his hands visible and empty. "Your issue is with me, not them." "My issue is with everything you represent," Junwoo replied. "You destroyed my brother's life. Your business practices ruined him. And when his wife tried to defend our family honor, you had her arrested. You take and take and take, and you never face consequences. Your brother stole money. He broke the law. What happened to him was justice, not persecution." "Justice?" Junwoo laughed bitterly. "Is it justice that you get to walk away from decades of violence and crime just because you married a foreign woman and had a baby? Is it justice that you get to play at being reformed while the rest of us suffer for our mistakes?" "No," Jean said quietly. It's not justice. It's mercy. It's the chance to be better. The chance I'm offering you right now. Put down the gun. Let these people go. Face real consequences instead of adding mass murder to your crimes. Why would I do that when I can make you watch them die instead? Junwoo pulled the trigger. The administrator dropped, blood spreading across his white shirt. Screams erupted. People tried to run. The two fake nurses pulled out automatic pistols and fired into the ceiling, forcing everyone back to their seats. Anyone else moves, they die, Junwoo announced. He looked at Jean with cold satisfaction. This is your fault. Every person who dies today dies because of you. Jin's mind raced through scenarios. Choi's team was outside, ready to breach. But a tactical entry would result in casualties. Too many civilians. Too much chaos. He needed to reduce the threat level before they could safely intervene. You're right, Jean said, taking a step forward. This is my fault. So punish me. Let them go and take me instead. Jean SSI, no. Choi's voice came through his earpiece. Do not engage. Interesting offer, Junwoo said. But I don't trust you to keep your word. You're a liar and a criminal. Why would I believe anything you say? Because I'm not offering you my word, Jean replied. I'm offering you my life. Shoot me right here, right now, in front of all these cameras. Make me the villain of the story. But let these innocent people walk away. Junwoo studied him for a long moment. Jean could see the calculation happening behind his eyes. This wasn't the plan. The plan was to take hostages, make demands, force Jean into an impossible situation. But Jean was changing the rules. You'd really die for them? Junwoo asked. For strangers? For people you don't even know? Yes, Jean said simply. Because that's what being better means. It means the innocent don't pay for my mistakes. The room was silent except for the sound of people crying softly, trying not to make noise that might trigger more violence. Jean took another step forward, his hands still raised and empty. My daughter is 3 weeks old, he said quietly. She'll grow up without a father if you kill me today. But she'll grow up knowing I died trying to save people. That's the legacy I want to leave her. What legacy do you want to leave your family? This is intense. If you're still watching, drop a like and comment legacy, so we know you're here for this powerful moment. And make sure you're subscribed. You won't believe how this ends. For the first time, something flickered across Junwoo's face. Doubt. Conflict. Jean pressed his advantage. Your brother made mistakes, Jean continued. But he's still alive. Still has a chance to rebuild. If you do this, if you murder innocent people, you destroy any chance he has at redemption. You make him the brother of a terrorist. Is that what you want for him? He's already destroyed, Junwoo said, but his voice lacked conviction. He's alive, Jean countered. He has a wife who loves him enough to do terrible things trying to defend him. That's not destroyed. That's wounded. And wounds can heal if you give them time. Time won't fix what you did. No, Jean agreed. But more violence won't either. It'll just create more victims. More broken families. More people like us, standing in rooms with guns, trying to decide if revenge is worth the price. Junwoo's gun wavered slightly. Jean could see him struggling, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. Around the room, people watched in terrified silence, their lives hanging on whatever this man decided in the next few seconds. You don't get to be the hero, Junwoo finally said. You don't get to sacrifice yourself and walk away clean. You're a criminal, a murderer. You've destroyed too many lives to suddenly become noble. I'm not trying to be noble, Jean said. I'm trying to be better. There's a difference. Noble is perfect. Better is just trying, failing, trying again. That's all I'm doing. Trying to be better today than I was yesterday. And you think that's enough? I think it's all any of us can do. We make mistakes. We hurt people. We carry those sins with us. But we can choose not to create new ones. We can choose to stop the cycle. Junwoo lowered his gun. Not completely. Not surrendering. But enough that it was no longer pointed directly at Jin's chest. If I let them go, he said slowly, I'm a dead man. Your people will kill me the moment I step outside. No. Choi's voice came from the doorway. She stood there in full tactical gear, but her hands were empty and visible. You have my word. NIS protection. Fair trial. If you surrender now, if you let these people go unharmed, I will personally guarantee your safety. Why would you do that? Because I'm tired, Choi said honestly. Tired of cleaning up bodies. Tired of watching cycles of revenge destroy families. You want justice? Real justice? Then face it in court. Tell your story to a judge. Let the world decide if your grievances are legitimate. That's how civilized people handle this. Civilized people, Junwoo repeated bitterly. And what about people like us? People the system chewed up and spit out? Where's our civilization? Right here, Jin said. Right now. In this moment where you choose not to become the monster you think I am. That's civilization. Not perfection. Just the choice to be better. The two fake nurses looked at Junwoo, waiting for orders. The room held its breath. Jin could see Choi's tactical team position just outside the door, ready to breach if this went wrong. He could see the civilians trembling, praying silently for deliverance. And he saw the exact moment Seo Junwoo made his decision. Everyone out, Junwoo said, his voice rough. Slowly. No sudden movements. Just go. The civilians didn't need to be told twice. They moved as one toward the door, quiet and careful, not daring to believe they were being set free. Choi's team guided them out, checking each person for injuries, moving them to safety. Within minutes, the room was empty except for Jin, Junwoo, the two fake nurses, and the bleeding administrator who'd been quietly applying pressure to his shoulder wound the entire time. You too, Junwoo told his companions. Put down your weapons and surrender. This is over. Boss, we can still. One of them began. No, Junwoo said firmly. We can't. It's over. We lost. Not because we weren't strong enough, but because... He looked at Jin with something that might have been respect. Because maybe he's right. Maybe revenge isn't worth the price. The two women slowly set down their weapons and raised their hands. Choi's team moved in quickly, securing them and escorting them out. Within moments, only Jin and Junwoo remained. You should have killed me in Busan, Junwoo said quietly. 15 years ago when you destroyed the Hyongji. You should have made sure we were all dead. Probably, Jin agreed. But I was arrogant then. Thought I could just take what I wanted and walk away. Thought power meant never having to face consequences. And now I know better. Power without responsibility is just tyranny. And tyranny always creates more tyrants. Junwoo set his gun on the floor and kicked it toward Jin. Tell my brother I'm sorry. For making everything worse. For letting my anger turn me into exactly what I hated. Tell him yourself, Jin said. In court, when you testify about how the system failed you. Use your voice to create change instead of destruction. Choi's team entered and secured Junwoo in restraints. As they led him away, he looked back at Jin one final time. Your daughter, he said. She's lucky. To have a father willing to die for strangers. Maybe you really are trying to be better. Every day, Jin replied. That's all I can promise. After everyone was cleared from the scene, after the paramedics had treated the administrator's non-fatal wound, after the last witness statement was taken, Jin stood alone in the empty conference room and called Elena. It's over, he said when she answered. Everyone's safe. I'm safe. He heard her sob in relief. Nari and I are coming there. Right now. Don't argue with me, Jean Sukhan. We're coming. I wouldn't dream of arguing with you, Jean said with a small smile. You're the scariest person I know. 30 minutes later, Elena arrived with Nari wrapped against her chest in a carrier, flanked by NIS security. She walked straight to Jean and kissed him hard, not caring who was watching. Don't ever scare me like that again, she whispered against his lips. I'll try, Jean promised, but I can't guarantee a quiet life. I don't want quiet, Elena said fiercely. I want honest. I want you trying to be better. I want my daughter to see her father make mistakes and fix them. That's the life I signed up for. Director Choi approached them, tablet in hand. The media is calling you a hero, Jean SSI, the man who negotiated a peaceful resolution to a hostage crisis. Several of the civilians are already giving interviews praising your courage. I don't want to be a hero, Jean said. I just want my family to be safe. Unfortunately, you don't get to choose how others perceive you, Choi replied. But you can choose what you do with that perception. The hospital is still committed to reforms. The administrator, despite being shot, is using this incident to push for even stronger patient protection measures. You've created real change. At what cost? Jean asked, looking at Elena and Nari. At the cost of your old life, Choi said. You can't go back to the shadows now. You're too visible, too public, which means you'll have to actually be the man you've been pretending to be. I'm not pretending, Jean said quietly. I know. That's what makes you dangerous to people like Junwoo. They can handle criminals and hypocrites, but someone genuinely trying to change, that threatens the entire system of revenge and violence they've built their identity around. After Choi left, Jean and Elena sat together in the now empty conference room, Nari sleeping peacefully between them. Outside the windows, they could see news crews packing up their equipment, the story already moving to the next headline. Your mother called me, Elena said softly, while you were in here negotiating. She asked if she could meet Nari. Jean looked at his wife in surprise. What did you say? I said yes. I said family is complicated and messy and painful, but it's still family. And Nari deserves to know her grandmother, even if her grandmother needed time to remember what grandmothers are supposed to be. You're more forgiving than I am, Jean said. I'm more practical, Elena corrected. Your mother saved our lives by warning us. That counts for something. And besides, I want Nari to grow up understanding that people can change. That mistakes don't have to be forever. If we don't forgive your mother, how can we expect the world to forgive you? Jean pulled Elena closer, careful not to disturb their sleeping daughter. How did I get so lucky? How did a man like me end up with a woman like you? You made me laugh at a charity gala where everyone else made me feel invisible, Elena said, smiling at the memory. You saw me when everyone else just saw the foreign woman who didn't belong. That's how. I saw you because you were the most beautiful person in the room, Jean said. Inside and out. Still are. Smooth talker, Elena teased. But I'll allow it. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching their daughter sleep, processing everything that had happened. Finally, Jean spoke again. I need to tell you something. About Busan. About what I did 15 years ago when I destroyed the Hyongji. You don't have to, Elena said. Whatever you did, it's in the past. No, Jean said firmly. If we're going to do this, if we're going to raise our daughter to value honesty, then I need to be honest with you. About all of it. The violence. The deaths. The choices I made that created men like Junwoo. Elena took his hand. Okay, I'm listening. And Jean told her. Everything. The territory wars in Busan. The people he'd killed or ordered killed. The families destroyed in his rise to power. The innocent casualties caught in crossfire. He didn't minimize it or justify it. He just laid it out, the full horror of what he'd been. When he finished, Elena was quiet for a long time. Jean waited, prepared for disgust, for her to take Nari and walk away from him forever. He wouldn't blame her. He was exactly what Junwoo had called him. Criminal. A murderer. Someone who'd destroyed lives without thought or remorse. "Thank you," Elena finally said, "for telling me, for trusting me with the truth. You're not leaving? Why would I leave? I knew who you were when I married you, Jean. I knew you had blood on your hands. What I didn't know was whether you'd try to wash it off or just add more. Today you showed me which path you're choosing." "I can't change what I did," Jean said. "Those people are still dead. Those families are still broken." "No, you can't change the past," Elena agreed. "But you can influence the future. You can make sure Nari grows up in a world where violence isn't the first answer. Where people like Junwoo have other options besides revenge. That's how you honor the people you hurt. By making sure their suffering creates change instead of just more suffering." Jean kissed his wife's forehead, then his daughter's. "I love you both more than I thought I could love anything. You make me want to be better than I am." "You are better than you were," Elena said. "That's enough for today. Tomorrow you can be better than you are today. That's how it works." We're almost at the end of this incredible journey. If this story touched you, if it made you feel something, hit that like button and share it with your friends. Your support means everything to our channel. 3 months later, Jean stood in front of a crowd of formerly incarcerated individuals at a rehabilitation center he'd funded. Elena sat in the front row with Nari, who was becoming more alert and interactive every day. His mother sat beside them, awkward but present, trying to build a relationship with the daughter-in-law she'd rejected and the granddaughter she'd almost never known. "I can't undo my past," Jean told the crowd. "I can't bring back the people I hurt or restore what I destroyed. But I can use what I learned in that life to help prevent others from making the same mistakes. This center exists because I know how easy it is to fall into violence when you see no other path forward. I know how the system fails people. And I know that punishment without rehabilitation just creates more criminals." He paused, looking at Elena, drawing strength from her steady gaze. 3 months ago, a man named Seo Junwoo almost killed me and 20 innocent people because he blamed me for his brother's failures. He was right to be angry. My business practices did hurt his family, but his anger became poison that almost destroyed more lives. That cycle has to stop, and it stops when we create systems that give people alternatives to revenge. When we show them that change is possible, that being better is possible. After his speech, several attendees approached to thank him. One young man, barely 20, with tattoos marking him as former gang affiliated, shook Jin's hand and said, "My daughter is 2 months old. I want to be there for her. Your story gives me hope that I can leave this life behind." "You can," Jean told him. "It won't be easy. People won't forget what you were. But if you keep choosing to be better, eventually who you are becomes more important than who you were." Later, at home, Jean found Elena on the balcony where he'd once stood alone, making promises to a sleeping daughter. Now Nari was awake, looking up at the stars with wide, wondering eyes. "She's going to be beautiful," Elena said, "and strong, and complicated, just like her parents. She'll be better than us," Jean said confidently. "She'll grow up seeing us try to be good even when it's hard. That's a gift neither of us had." "Your mother wants to babysit next week," Elena said with a slight smile. "I told her she needs to pass a background check first." Jean laughed. "You're evil. I love it. Someone has to keep you humble," Elena replied. "Your ego is already inflating from all the hero worship." "I'm not a hero," Jean protested. "No," Elena agreed. "You're something better. You're a work in progress. A villain trying to become a hero. That's more interesting anyway." They stood together, watching the city lights, holding their daughter, knowing that tomorrow would bring new challenges. There were still people who wanted Jean dead, Still consequences from his past that would emerge without warning. Still moments when he'd have to choose between the easy path of violence and the harder path of justice. But tonight, in this moment, Jin Suk-han was exactly where he needed to be. With the family he'd almost lost. In the life he'd almost destroyed. Being the man he'd once thought impossible. "I have a confession," Elena said softly. "When I first met you, I thought you were too dangerous to love, too broken to fix, too dark to bring into the light. What changed your mind? You did. Every day you showed me you were trying, that the darkness wasn't all there was, that underneath the fear and violence was someone who just wanted to be seen as more than a monster. And now," Jean asked, "am I still too dangerous?" "Oh, absolutely," Elena said with a grin. "But I like danger. As long as it comes home safe to me and our baby every night." Jean kissed her, slow and deep, a promise and a prayer all at once. When they broke apart, Nari made a small sound, as if reminding them she was still there, still needing them, still depending on them to build a world worth living in. "We should go inside," Elena said. "It's getting cold." "One more minute," Jean said. "I just want to remember this feeling, this moment when everything is exactly as it should be." "Every moment with you is memorable," Elena said. "Some are just more intense than others." They went inside together, a family forged in fire and violence, tempered by love and hope. Jean put Nari in her crib and stood watching her sleep, still amazed that something so perfect could exist in a world so broken. "She's going to ask about you someday," Elena said from the doorway. "About what you did, about who you were. What will you tell her?" "The truth," Jean said. "That I made terrible choices, that I hurt people, but that meeting her mother changed me, that having her saved me, that love is stronger than violence if you're brave enough to choose it." "That's a good answer," Elena said. "Practice it. You've got about 15 years before she starts asking the hard questions." 15 years, Jean repeated, the weight of it settling over him. So much time, so much that could go wrong. Or so much that could go right, Elena countered. "Stop catastrophizing. You're Korean. You're supposed to be optimistic about your children's future." "I am optimistic," Jean protested. "I'm just also realistic." "You're overthinking it," Elena said, pulling him toward their bedroom. "Come on. Nari will be up in 3 hours wanting to eat. We should sleep while we can." But Jean couldn't sleep. He lay awake watching Elena breathe beside him, listening to Nari's soft sounds through the baby monitor, thinking about how close he'd come to losing all of this. One wrong choice, one hesitation, one moment of reverting to the man he used to be instead of the man he was trying to become. His phone buzzed with a message. Detective Park, sending an update on Seo Mirai's trial. She'd accepted a plea deal, would serve 2 years for assault, lose her nursing license permanently. Her husband had been sentenced to 5 years for conspiracy and attempted murder in connection with the hospital attack. Junwoo was awaiting trial, currently in protective custody, cooperating with prosecutors to expose corruption in the prison system. Everyone was facing consequences. Everyone was being held accountable. The system was working the way it was supposed to. Jean replied with a simple thank you and set his phone aside. Tomorrow he had meetings about the rehabilitation center expansion. Next week he was testifying before a government committee about criminal justice reform. In a month he was speaking at a conference about breaking cycles of violence in organized crime. His life had become something he never imagined. Purpose instead of power. Meaning instead of money. Family instead of fear. It was terrifying and beautiful and exactly what he needed. Elena stirred beside him, opening her eyes. "You're thinking too loud," she mumbled. "I can hear your brain from here." "Sorry," Jean whispered. "Go back to sleep. Not until you tell me what's worrying you." "I'm not worried," Jean said. I'm grateful and scared that I'll mess this up somehow, that I'll forget how lucky I am and slip back into old patterns. Then don't forget, Elena said simply. When you start feeling like the old Jean, come find me. Let me remind you who you are now. That's what I'm here for. I don't deserve you, Jean said. Probably not, Elena agreed with a sleepy smile. But you're stuck with me anyway. That's what marriage means. Jean pulled her closer, breathing in her scent, feeling her heartbeat against his chest. I love you, Elena Brooks Jean. Thank you for seeing something worth saving in me. I love you too, Elena whispered. Now shut up and let me sleep. Parenthood is exhausting. And finally, Jean slept, dreamless and peaceful, anchored by love, protected by hope, believing for the first time in his life that maybe, just maybe, he really could be better than he was. The dawn broke over Hanul City, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, the same colors that had marked Nari's birth 3 months ago. Jean woke to the sound of his daughter crying, demanding food and attention and love. He got up, changed her diaper with the practiced ease of a new father, and carried her to Elena for feeding. And as he watched his wife nurse their daughter in the soft morning light, Jean Sukhan understood something fundamental. The mafia boss, the criminal, the man who'd built an empire on fear and violence, that version of himself wasn't completely gone. He was still there, lurking in the shadows, ready to emerge when threatened. But he didn't have to be in control anymore, because the man who loved Elena and Nari was stronger. The father who wanted to build a better world was more powerful than the criminal who'd destroyed lives. The husband who valued peace over power was the real Jean, not the monster everyone feared. And that was enough. That was everything. Thank you so much for watching this intense continuation of Jean and Elena's story. If you made it to the end, you're part of our Afrodrama family now. Show us some love by hitting that like button, drop a comment telling us what you thought, and subscribe to this channel for more powerful stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Share this video with someone who loves intense drama and family stories. We appreciate every single one of you. Until next time, remember that being better is always possible if you're brave enough to try. See you in the next story.